In this video, we're going to look at how to solve an equation involving decimals. So we have two solutions. The first solution, we're going to keep all the decimals and try to get x by itself. So we're not going to get rid of any decimals. So starting with the problem, so first of all, notice that we have x's. So whenever we solve the equation, we want to focus on the terms with x. So we found all of them, and then we're going to try to combine them. And notice that since they are on two different sides, in order to combine them, and we're going to have to move them to the same side. So we can either move x to the right or move this negative 0.25x to the left. So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to add 0.25x to get rid of the negative 0.25x on the right hand side because they cancel each other. And you can think of it as moving this to the left hand side by changing the sign. And so now we have the right hand side will just be 4.8. The x will be gone. But the left hand side, we have to combine it. So notice that x and x, they are like terms. So we just need to add the numbers in front of x. So we need to know how many x's we are adding. And 1 plus 0.25. So this is how we add decimals, which we talked about in a previous video. So we're going to line up the decimal point. And notice 1, the decimal point is right. There doesn't have a decimal point, but it's right at the end of 1. So you can think of it as 1.010 if you want to add it to zeros, and line up with line up the decimal point with the 1 in 0.25. Now we're going to add 0 plus 5, 0 plus 2, 1 plus 0. So we get 1.25x. And now we can get rid of 1.25 in front of x. And again, it's because it's 1.25 times x or times 1.25x. We're going to divide both sides by 1.25 to get rid of 1.25. And in order to simplify this, and we can either do long division on this part right here, or first we're going to get rid of the decimal in the denominator. So we're going to move the decimal point to the right 2 times. So we also have to move the decimal point to the right 2 times. So we end up with 480 divided by 125. So here, if we do long division, we're going to get 3.84. And or you can reduce this, and notice that they end in 0 and 5. So both 5 should go into both of the numbers. So divide both of them by 5. And which you may not need to do this. You could go ahead and divide 480 by 125. But if you reduce the numbers a little bit, you're going to get smaller numbers. So you could just divide 96 by 25. That should give us 1 and 2, and add a decimal point, add a 0. So that's 8. That gives us 200 here, and then subtract, add another 0, bring it down. So that gives us exactly 3.84. Okay, now this is the old way. So here we just try to follow the steps that we learned before, and because our goal is trying to get x by itself, which means we have to put all the different x's together and get rid of the number in front of x. But the new way is, if you don't like decimals, we can turn the decimals into whole numbers, because we know that when we have a decimal, for example 4.8, we can move the decimal point to the right to turn it into a whole number, and which is equivalent to multiply by 10 to get a whole number 48. For 0.25, we can move the decimal point to the right 2 times, which is equivalent to multiplying 100 to get 25. But in order to turn both numbers into whole numbers, we have to multiply by 100. Because if we multiply by 10, this is only going to turn 0.25 to 2.5. That's still not a whole number. So we're going to pick 100. And because if we multiply by 100, we're just going to get 480, which is still a whole number. So first step, since when we have an equation, we can multiply both sides by the same number. So we multiply the left-hand side by 100, the right-hand side, both terms multiplied by 100. So now we have 100x equals 480, as we just did right here. And 100 times 0.25 gives us 25. So now we got rid of all the decimals, so we only need to deal with the integers or whole numbers. So here we're going to do the same thing. We try to get rid of negative 25x by adding it, and now we're going to have 125. So instead of adding 1 and 0.25, we're adding 125. All the numbers, our decimals, are increased 100 times. Now we're going to get rid of 125 by dividing both sides by 125 instead of dividing both sides by 1.25. So now we're going to get the same answer. By the way, if you don't want to turn this into decimal, you could leave your answer as 96/25 because a fractional answer is accepted as long as it's reduced.